Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of VOX VOMITUS. I am your host, Jennifer Ann Gordon, the author of Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, Pretty Ugly, as well as The Japanese Box and Other Stories. Joining me today, as always, is my VOX VOMITUS vixen, Allison Martine, author of The Bourbon Books, which includes Dibs Since September, Move on Melinda, and Climb the Salmon Ladder. Joining us today is the one, the only, the amazing Amina Akhtar, author of Almost Surely Dead, which I just finished this morning.
I kept bugging for like days. I'm like, have you finished reading it? Because I finished it like last Friday, I think. And I'm like, Jennifer. She's like, I'm reading it. I'm like, Jennifer?
I'm like, nope, right under the wire.
I'm like, it reads fast.
It reads fast.
But you still actually have to open the book.
You'll have to open the book. Amina, thank you for being here. Tell our viewers
thank you for having me.
A little bit about yourself, your dog, and of course, a little bit about
I have a dog. She's up there. She's also taking a nap right now, literally next to me. Baby.
I'm glad you said she's taking a nap. Earlier, she looked kind of dead.
She's not dead. She's not dead. Yeah. She's just 13 and like, it was like, leave me alone, I'm sleeping. I live out near Sedona, Arizona on a mountain with my father, and lots of hijinks ensue out here. Lots of wild animals. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see my javelinas, which are these wild pigs that have decided that we're friends
with the
now.
javelinas. I'm obsessed.
Listen, they literally walk up to me and they're like, hi. And I'm just like, because they're not nice. They're not supposed to be nice.
Aren't they scared?
And they're nice to me because I don't chase them off. You know, so I'm kind of like, sure, it's your land too, whatever. Come on, hang out, have some water.
So, I before javelinas later, but when you label them as javelinas, I'm like, that tells me where you are, because in my head they're peccaries, because I studied them down in Brazil, and it's the same animal, but they have a different name here, and I'm like, so is it white lips or Cobb? And I'm sure yours are not like radio and all that. They're like, no, we don't want that. We would like
no. I don't know. I just know they're javelinas and they have babies and they bring them to our patio, and I'm always just like, oh my God, come here, little ones. I want to
this one will come in the house.
But I tried away from them though, and not trying to pet them, because that's how you die. And before this, I lived in New York for a couple decades and worked in the fashion industry. You know, every fashion magazine you've ever picked up, I have probably worked there. And I do not anymore, and I no longer wear high heels. So it's awesome.
Yes.
I hate high heels, so good. Even though I'm short, I need them to be like normal size.
I'm like 5'1", but like, and I have some really great shoes still that I'm like holding on to for my niece when she gets older. And like, listen, she better be my shoe size. But I tried putting on these like studded Valentino ankle boots and promptly fell right over because I can no longer wear them.
I think you get to a point where when the second you stop wearing heels, then you can never go back.
Done.
Your foot's like
once you put a Birkenstock on, it's all over, guys. All over.
I know. Like immediately, it's just like your feet flatten out. You just want to wear like shoe boxes on each foot. And just
I've been wearing the house shoes that I got from Daiso that are the foamy, and I just shuffle around the house in them. I'm going, why would I?
I've got like the Skechers foamy ones for like running errands, because I'm like, oh, these are great.
Yeah. Like, just shuffle. Did you have to wear? You had to wear real fancy shoes when you did your book launch, though, didn't you?
I just wear boots. I got boots with like a little stocky small heel. I have long COVID, so I when I was in New York, to get around, I was using a cane to help me, and I just was like, there's no way I can wear high heels and a cane. Like, I'm just gonna fall over, and it's gonna be a bad scene. Let's not do that. So I got these cute little Vince Camuto boots that were like literally like the tiniest little heel, like blocky heel, so it's not terrible.
I would like the cane just to hit people with, and I don't think that's the proper use of the cane. So I mean, you're like,
well, depends.
I'm coming.
It's useful.
Yeah. I don't think that's how you're supposed to be using it. But I mean, it sounds like it would be still fun for a book launch, and you can reach high things and poke it down.
Seriously.
But now, okay, so you launched the book, and now we want to talk about Almost Surely Dead. And we were really hoping that the podcasters involved were not based on us. Jennifer says it's not true.
They were not.
But
not you guys.
I'm a little nervous. Just clarifying.
I know. I'm like, I did podcasters in it.
Like, and then you read them and went.
I'm like, they're terrible.
Yeah, they are.
I like to have humor in the book and like make and like kind of satire and poke fun, and that's what they were for. I'm not against true crime podcasts, but I do think that there are some that blur the line as to why they're like, is it entertainment to them? Is it, and it's like
advertising revenue. They're like,
dodgy.
I love true crime podcasts, but then they can be problematic. I don't want to like name.
There is an ick factor on some of them that you're just like, oh, I feel kind of dirty.
You find yourself laughing, and then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have been laughing.
There are real people involved. There are real,
yeah.
And but there are true crime podcasters like Rabia Chaudhry and Catherine Townsend who really are trying to, these solve cases. They really make a difference and help families. And then there are some who, just want a Netflix deal and whatever works for you.
Exactly. And to hawk their own products and merchandise. And I know Jen and I have talked about we make our own merch, but we aren't a true crime podcast. So it wouldn't be quite as gross as like, hey, yeah, we are talking about someone who's missing and possibly dead. Get our merch.
And then using her name as a promo code. And using her name as a promo code.
Every time it was like, do you need money? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
you were saying your name correctly because you're like Amina, like ominous, which I love because I'll remember that. But I love that they kept getting Dunya's name wrong. They're
Dunya. So it was this joke that just made me laugh so hard. I think that's the only reason I chose the name for her. Besides the fact that when you're doing like Pakistani names, you have to make sure that they are easy to pronounce for the American audience, right? So I'm not going to do some really complicated because people are going to just shut away, walk away, right? So I was like, okay, Dunya, and then like Dunya actually does mean cilantro, and it just I put it in so much that my editor was laughing, but she was like, okay, we get the joke. It's enough. You can calm down. And I was like, okay, I just thought it was funny.
But
like in the extended version, there's 90,000 cilantro
and it's like the thing that we had when we were learning some of the accents and how accents make a difference in Spanish, because in English, not really so much. That Papa is a potato. Papa is your father. So don't call your father a potato. Like you don't call your main character cilantro. It's just rude.
Unless she really likes cilantro, in which case more power to her.
I really do. I wouldn't mind.
I love it. It made me hungry.
Good. You guys don't have the weird soap gene then.
Yeah,
That's
no,
good.
I don't. I'm good with that. But I mean, I wouldn't name like a child that. My kids are great. I just gave them names.
I don't know. Some people name them Sage. What else is
my kid has a kid
parsley?
Is
it parsley? Is parsley a name?
Parsley, I don't know, but Sage is. Poppy is.
Sage. Poppy.
These are names my husband's like, no, you can't do that to our children. I'm like, but I like it.
You're like, what about Dunya? They're just kidding. You won't know.
You won't know. It'll sound so exotic.
Like, no matter how much Card Captors I watched, I was not allowed to name a kid Sakura, because that's not even how you pronounce Sakura. But I mean, I liked the show and it was a cartoon and I liked it. And again, they're like, no, you can't name a kid that. Not allowed. And then you named your characters things that are much easier for boring white people, like Liz. We got that one.
And Liz Small, who is actually fashioned after Liz Little, the author, but the antithesis of Liz Little, because Liz Little is actually really awesome. She's not online much, but she's brilliant. But I was like, I'm going to name this character after you, but she's going to be your bizarro world version of you. So it's a little mustache, like the opposite. Yeah. So, but yeah, I definitely agonize. Like I'm working on my next book and I'm trying, and it's more set in a Pakistani community. So I have to have all these names, but I'm like, oh my God, they have to be so easy for people to say, because otherwise I'm going to lose readers. So it is definitely something I kind of agonize over.
Which is just the names in general.
Just the names.
Just making sure that they...
But it's ones that are like, are they sort of phonetic, or am I going to give up halfway through? Because that's me and most Welsh names, even though my middle kid does have a Welsh name. Like ones where I'm like, how did we get from this to, I don't understand. There's like an S here. It doesn't mean anything.
There needs to be a little pronunciation guy with some of the names, and that's fine. We can do that.
Yeah, that would be great.
We can figure that out.
So the names in Almost Surely Dead, besides the cilantro joke, I mean, they were easy, accessible. Tell us a little bit, because I love that it's Almost Surely Dead, a thriller, but there are so many other aspects besides just being
a lot going on.
There's a lot going on in
I
this.
tick all the boxes on the category, so whichever one I'm doing best in, just
I was like Missing Woman.
I never try
Supernatural.
It's like I feel like I always kind of straddle the line between thriller and horror. I'm kind of a genre blender. I had Talking Ravens in the last book, and then in this one it's like, so it's this woman named Dunya who almost gets pushed in front of the subway. That's the first chapter. It is literally not a spoiler. She does not die, but the guy who tries to kill her, he ends up killing himself by jumping in front of the train. And she's just like, what just happened? What? And she's like this totally normal, not a fashion person, because I just had like fashiony things in there. So she's a pharmacist, just boring life, average woman trying to get to work and get home. And as she's trying to figure this out, like, why did this man want to kill me? Other people keep trying to kill her, and she doesn't understand what's happening. And then it's told in 3 stories. So there's her, and she's going through, and her mom has just died, as a backstory, and she just broke up with her fiance. So she's really at loose ends, in all parts of her life. And then there's the podcast, which is set about a year and a half in the future. And from that, we learn she's disappeared. So we have different timelines. And so as we're reading Dunya, there's another one. We'll get there. So as we're reading Dunya's timeline, we're trying to figure out what led to her disappearing. So we know she's disappeared. And then the third timeline is her when she's 5 years old. And that's the year that a lot of interesting things happened in her family, including her father dying. And she didn't realize how much it impacted her. And it was also why she was estranged from her family and her culture. And so this was sort of like, okay, these are the things that actually really happened to her, even if she didn't think it was a big deal at the time, minus the dad dying. So it's really, it's all sorts of things.
And she got that was a big deal.
Yeah. So she's being stalked and possibly trying to be killed. And she may or may not be haunted, and like actually haunted by a jinn, which is, an entity in, mostly Muslim culture, even though they aren't necessarily just Muslim. I was doing all this research because I have all these jinn stories from my dad, but I was like, I need to know, like, are there factual, like, what can I work with? I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure I got it right, and so I was reading stuff about how jinn predate the Abrahamic religions, and they were Jewish jinn, and so I was like, oh, so it's not necessarily just relegated to the Islamic world. It's just these are the entities that live there. However, there are some who believe fairies and the fae are a type of jinn as well. So jinn could be a worldwide concept.
Well, and one of the things I thought that was interesting that you did is because she's estranged from her culture, she's able to be that outside character for the reader to learn about these things, because she didn't learn in these stories growing up other than hearing these things secondhand or being called these things. And some of these words, like, I looked up to know what they actually meant. Don't do that, because you'll get some weird like,
it's really hard to look up Urdu words. It is. So it's not like if it's in Spanish, it's a whole different script, first of all. It's like you're doing a whole different script. It's more Arabic derived, so it's really challenging. So I try to, when I put Urdu words in, have the meaning inferred or flat out stated, because it's not like
how, like, I wanted to know more. Like, you were very clear what it meant, and then I looked it up, and there's a lot on YouTube about people. I'm going to mispronounce that, but pagal, and what that is.
Poggle.
Like, poggle. Okay, it's all over the place, and I'm going, I don't think they're using it in the same way that Amin is using it.
It's sort of like my dad always used the word charail to mean like kind of skanky looking. Like, oh, it looks like a charail. But then I realized it was also like witch. It means witch.
Oh.
So it's like, so there are these older terms that get repurposed. It's just language. Language is fluid. Am I the be all end all expert? No, but like, do I have enough boggles in my family? Yes. Yes, I do. So yeah.
Branch and these people over here.
Yeah.
Set up on the internet. There's and there's albums named that. I'm like, do they mean it the same way? Because I feel like
that is so weird.
Look it up if you're having fun. I'm like, oh, interesting. I think I'll go back to reading the book now.
Who knew? I never knew this.
We'll come back to the plot over here. But I did like that you did that in terms of like, she's just a child when she kind of gets cut off from these things, and half of it is stuff she's over.
Yes.
And she doesn't.
And part of it is that her mom is very superstitious, as far as we can tell. And also Dunya sleepwalks as a child and as an adult. And so she's doing these weird, freaky things in her sleep, and her mom is just freaking out. which was based on the fact that I sleepwalk, and I used to do all
That was
these
going to
weird
be my
things.
next question.
I still sleepwalk to this day. I'm an adult sleepwalker because most people grow out of it in adolescence. I did not grow
I
out of
grew
it.
out of it in my early
And
20s. Like that's when I finally
I
stopped.
still sleepwalk. There are still days I wake up but the lights are on. I'm wearing something different.
Okay,
Or
do
I'll
you
wake
do
up holding
anything-
beanie. And
I was gonna say, do you do any of the things that Dunya does as far as like
well,
putting tools at your door and doing
I have a
things
scary
to stop
story. Yeah,
moving?
yeah, I do. I have a door stopper just
Okay.
at my bedroom door to really like keep me from getting to the door because
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to go outside. And there's wild animals outside. I literally don't want to go out there in the dark. But there was I had a sleepwalking incident that was my apartment was haunted. And I don't know if y'all are believers or what.
I live in a haunted house.
She is.
So this is literally the same apartment Dunia's in because I set all my New Yorkers in this apartment. I don't know why. I just love it. It was after my mom had died, and Beanie kept staring at the blank wall, ears pinned back, freaking out. And I'm looking for bugs. I'm trying to figure out what it is. There's nothing. I literally would have to cover her head to get her to stop because it was like, oh my God, you are freaking me out, right? And it was every night for like a month. She was doing this, and then and when I sleepwalk like once a month, maybe. It's not like an every night thing. I was every single night doing what Dunya did. I would wake up in my closet, literally throwing things out of my closet, or in my living room, trying to find something that was there that shouldn't be there. It was just this overwhelming feeling there was something in my apartment and it shouldn't be there. And so for weeks, I'm sitting there thinking, I am going insane. What the hell? So I joked to my friends. I'm like, I have a closet monster. Ha ha. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so in the fashion world, when you go out to dinner with like publicists or whatever, you go to an event, there's always a psychic, a tarot reader, astrologer. I don't know why. It's just fun. They try to make things more entertaining for the editors, I think. So like 6 months prior, I had gone to dinner with this publicist friend, and she had this psychic medium guy. I can't tell you to this day what he does. It was energetic feng shui. Okay. I don't know what that means. I'm not enlightened enough to understand it, even though I witnessed him in action. Okay. He basically would go into a building and clear out any dead people, right?
Mm-hmm.
He calls me up out of the blue as all this is happening. And he's like, listen, you don't remember me. We had dinner with so-and-so 6 months ago. And I'm like, no, I remember you. And he's like, my spirit guides are telling me to get into your apartment right now. And I like dropped the phone because I'm like, how did he know? I didn't post it. Like,
that gives me chills.
So I'm like,
we needed to have you over here, get all this out.
Yeah.
And Regina said,
so I was like,
yeah.
I was like, come over, let's do this. And I was like, does he want money? He didn't even want money. He really was just like, I need to get to your apartment. And the night before he came, I had this dream, and I don't know if it made it into the book because I write so many versions of my drafts that I can't remember what makes it in. I had this dream, but if I go into the bathroom and I shut the door and leave the lights off and take a picture with the flash on in the mirror, I would see who's haunting me behind me.
Oh,
I woke up and no, because that's how you die in a horror movie, people. No,
you don't want to see what's there. It's going to look like a little girl from The Ring.
Right. So what was weird was that when he came in, he was like, it's coming through your bathroom. And I was like, oh, the dream. So that was where the kernel for Dunya came from, being haunted and sleepwalking and like weirdness, and all that stuff.
Book because I would have remembered that because that would have been like one of those close the book, walk away moments. I mean, I was reading my computer, sort of like slamming the laptop and running away from my computer. But Regina, who does tarot, who says Regina's tarot and Wirecraft, did someone say haunted apartment? And she did. And apparently she also says, ooh.
Regina, I gotcha. I gotcha. I got hauntings.
What it was that he did, the energetic. Was there any?
He did a couple of things that were strange. Okay. So he would do. First of all, he did this thing where he would just prayers and symbols, and I'm just sitting there like with me and Beanie, just kind of like okay. And when he was done, the air really felt lighter. Like he's like, I put up a blockade. You can't come in, but I want to come back and do some more. And I don't know if you guys ever lived in New York. He used to have Time Warner cable, right? So whenever the cable would go out, you would get this blue screen, right? And it was just a thing for so long. My cable went out right after he left, only it was the poltergeist snow. And when's the last time you guys saw Poltergeist Snow on TV?
The movie Poltergeist?
During Poltergeist.
Yeah, that's probably
right. And I was just like, this is so weird. I mean, this is like 10 years ago. This was not like a lot long ago. He told me there was a message from my deceased mother in my books. And what he would do is he would use your body, like kinesiology, to answer questions. So like, it's a weird thing that they can do where like the way your arm can bend or not bend goes with the truth. So if you're lying, your body's a certain way. Like it's bizarre. I've seen him do it. He did it on me and I could not even grasp it, you know, and I'm absolutely explaining it poorly. But he's like, there's a message.
No, I am intrigued.
I want to see it.
And so I want you guys to see my bookshelf. First of all, they're not in any. Look at that mess, right?
Yeah,
that's I'm a mess, right? So it's not like he saw a book and was like, "Oh, I know that book. I'm going to stick a message," right? So he's using my arm. Is it on this shelf or that shelf? And then okay, is it this book or that book? And then finds the book, and it's like a book by Camus that I had from university days. I hadn't read in decades, and he finds the page. He finds it, and he looks at me and he's like, "I'm really sorry, but your mom wants you to read this." And I was like, okay. And the line said, "Yes, it would be a pleasure to see my mother again." And I think I was just like, that's so strange. Wow. I don't understand how you did that. How did you, like, how? To this day, I don't know how. So
yeah, this is why you have
like,
to believe in things like that, because
I'm
a believer.
Explain that out.
Listen, I'm a believer. If you ask anybody in my family about jinn, and almost any Pakistani person I know, I'm not saying all, we're not monolith, but ones I know, absolutely 100% believe in jinn. And everybody has a jinn story. They are just, they're here. They're creatures. They're entities. They're part of our lives. Sometimes part of our families.
You're like, that one over there. I'm not sure about that one. I liked some of the stuff you wove in, and you were mentioning earlier how like the jinn predate Abrahamic religions. So there were certain things where it's like, okay, so there were certain necklaces and things that she had that were given to her, and it's like, oh, but you're not supposed to have that because it's kind of supposed to be maybe sacrilegious. So how those two things, like this, synchronous, and you know, that's funny to me because I always grew up, like my aunt, when she went to Mecca, she bought me, basically it was a rosary, but it was evil eye beads. Yeah.
But the concept of using evil eye as a talisman is called shirk. It's wrong. You're not supposed to do it. But my dad's side of the family is Sufi, or was Sufi. He's really not religious at this point, but his great-great-grandfather worked with jinn, and they were in the house. And my dad remembers as a child, there was one room in the house that no one could go into because that was the jinn's room. And if you went in there, like they would beat the crap out of you. Except for him. So he would put all his toys in there. He was like, "Where's all my toys?" Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. My little stick and ball, because it was 1930s Pakistan, India, are fine. What toys did he have? I don't know. So I grew up with these stories. Yeah, I always grew up with these stories. I always grew up like believing in this stuff. But it's really different when you're an adult and you're having an experience. And it's sort of like, I wanted dunya to be that sort of discombobulated. That sort of, is this happening? Am I losing my mind? I don't know. Is this real? I don't, because that's how hauntings are. You know, you're not going to have things flying around unless you're in a really bad place. But you're going to have these little moments that are going to make you question your sanity, you know? And that's
exactly.
You handled that really well in that kind of the juxtaposition. That's why I mentioned the two timelines of how she was as a kid, and she thought these things were funny and it was kind of cool. And then as an adult, you're like, holy shit, this is not okay.
As an adult, you're like, don't open the door. Yeah, you're like screaming. As you read her adult timeline, you will be yelling at her like she's a bad horror movie protagonist because she has no sense of the danger she's in.
And she's like, you know, people keep trying to kill me, like multiple people.
There is that.
And she's still like, I guess I'm just gonna walk home from work.
Yeah, and there's at some point they're like,
if you got pushed in front of the subway, you would not want to be on the subway, you know?
Exactly, totally. And I understand that.
And getting a cab at rush hour and in Manhattan, are you kidding me? That's impossible.
No.
So she would have to walk.
But there were times when people were saying, "Hey, stay at my place," and she's like, "Oh, I don't want to put you out. I'm staying at your place. If people are trying to kill me in mine, and my doorman is doing a terrible job preventing things from coming upstairs, I am going to someone else's house. Bye, bye, bye."
Yes, but what if she went to the wrong person's house?
Yeah, and she has that problem because she has some trust issues, and rightfully so.
She has trust issues, and she has a bad judge of character at this point, and she doesn't know who to trust. Yeah, let's put it that way. Yeah, that's the polite way to put it.
She gets
that's a nice way to say it.
And the way that you handled, like with the podcast, like we meet certain people, we're like, oh, they must be okay because they're on the podcast. It's like, well, maybe
are they?
Are they? I did have to laugh at the podcast hosts when Dunya's ex-boyfriend comes on the podcast.
David,
like,
I was like, it's gonna be David, isn't it?
He's so cute. Oh, he seems sweet.
Like,
they're not the most shrewd investigators, let's say, but it was fun to be able to have Dunya talk about something that happens, and then there's the podcast right after that'll be like, here's what actually happened, and talking to people involved and getting a different perspective, and so that was actually really fun, because then you start to realize she's an unreliable narrator, even if she doesn't mean to be, like she's just seeing things through this very narrow traumatic lens, and she can't see a bigger picture,
and even like
so
from when
really
she was
fun.
a child, what she thinks she knows as a child might not necessarily be.
And then you meet her sister.
Reality. Yeah.
And then we meet her sister. Oh, her lovely sister.
Sisters, I always say, are your first frenemies.
I loved that line. I was like,
and if you're desi, your aunties are your first bullies, because let me tell you, they really are.
Dude, the way you wrote one of the aunties, I wanted to pull her aside and just be like, you are the most awful person ever.
So
and
mean.
You need to do. And I guess the thing is, like, I understand that there's people in your life that you're like, I don't really want to be around them, but it's like family friends, so I guess I have to. But like, it made me so angry when no one's protecting her from just adults being awful. But again, she's 5, so
I don't want to say that that's how adults are. I'm not sure, but there's definitely things I remember of aunties, who would just look like I was thinking about this little girl, because I want to maybe put it in my book, but she was like, her mom was friends with my mom, and the girl was like a toddler. She was 2 or 3 at the, and we were teenagers, and her mom was so horrified by her facial hair that she was bleaching this little girl's face. And I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, like looks are were traditionally very important, looks and learning how to, really having to be the consummate host at like 5, learning to carry the tea tray and pour the tea and do all these things we had to do. And if you didn't do them, if you say, we're in high school in the 90s and shaved your head and wore combat boots like some of us, some of the aunties were like, don't be like Amina, don't be like that, so it was always a bit of a black sheep, and so I liked my characters to kind of have that little estrangement, because it's, I don't know, it's more true to me, I think, if they're a little bit trying to figure out themselves, as it were.
When you had a couple black sheep in your story that were like, hey, we can black sheep this together.
Black sheep
get together. Or all the sheep natural. I don't know how sheep genetics work. Do they get cute little black sheep babies? I don't actually know how sheep is genetics. That
would be cute. But I don't think so. I wish. Little goth sheep running around.
Oh, that'd be cute. Well, and that
Jennifer's face, yes.
Yes.
I like goth sheep.
I'm like, that's the only problem with sheep, that they're not goth.
And so I know that Mindy Kaling has picked this book.
Yes.
She's getting this to be a movie, and can we help cast it, because we have suggestions?
It has not been optioned yet. I'm 100% open to options. Yeah. So hopefully somebody, like my dream obviously would be Jordan Peele, because I'm like obsessed with him.
Yeah.
Not the characters, I don't think. That's a director.
No, just make the movie. I'll be happy. I just want to be like, take this book. I don't just do what you want with it,
blows my mind, because I watch the Key and Peele stuff, and then I watch his movies, and I go, how is this coming out of the same person?
It's the same way I can that foxtrot is my favorite dance, but also I write dark, creepy things.
Seriously, I'm just like,
I had this radio lady the other day who told me I was very bubbly and not at all as scary as she thought I was going to be. So I think that we get all of this out in books and writing and screenplays, so that there's room for other stuff.
I love
we contain multitudes.
We're very deep.
Who would you cast as some of these characters? Because I have suggestions.
That's challenging, because there's not, in the mainstream, there's not as many desi actors here.
But
so we need what?
We need more, and I like them. So
we need more.
Like more.
So I think that the main character would have to be somebody that the broader audience didn't know.
That's actually good,
because I can't
like those, and it's the introducing, and then you make the person's career.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's other like Kendra, and Liz Small. They be much easier to cast. I just find that we don't have. I mean, we do have more in the mainstream now because of Mindy, and that's something that I'm obsessed with, because growing up, there were no Pakistani or Indian people on TV. No. Short Circuit, the guy was white and brown face, same with The Simpsons. So every time we would see a Desi on TV, we literally would point and shout, Desi! And we still do that. Even though we're everywhere now, we're all over the place now, but we still do that, because it was such a rarity that I would see someone who looked like me on TV. So it's like,
you're like,
I don't know. I have no idea who I would cast. I have no idea. I'm open.
See, I'm
director, producers.
Call Amina, please.
Now, but I'm obsessed with Rahul Kohli, so he can be Zahir.
Oh, I love him. I want him as Zabir. He would be good for Zabir. He absolutely would. Yeah, I love him.
Him like
and
that.
He's really funny.
He's awesome.
He's really funny. He's totally a cutie pie, and I loved him in iZombie. He's really solid. So Zabir was the character that I wrote to explain what jinn are to white people. Basically, it was without having to be he's a professor, and he happens to know Dinya, and you're kind of like, why is he here at this moment? There's some sketchy ties to him.
They're like, not sure if he's
my husband, cousin. Yeah, well, in our culture, honestly, if my brother-in-law's cousin is in town, I'm gonna take him to dinner. It's family. You're always out with family and doing stuff, right? My brother-in-law would never make me, but still. So the beer originally was just to serve that purpose, but then he grew on me, and I was like,
he's kind of cute.
In my head, I did see Rahul. He's the only one I had cast. And put some glasses on the guy, get his gray peppery hair. Perfect.
No, he's perfect.
Yeah, he would be amazing. I think I'm here for more Daisies. I'm here for it.
Bring them on. And I like the idea of an unknown to be like, this is introducing. And Nadia, we can. I have some ideas about Nadia as far as women who can pull I'm the sister and I'm not necessarily your friend. Who have that energy. And I won't name names, but there's some who do that. I'm just saying.
We can whisper it later. Yeah. That's okay. My sister, who is a pharmacist and who lives in Fort Worth. But I was very clear. Her name's Aisha, and I said, Aisha, auntie, is not you. I was like, Nadia is you. I was like, just so in case you were wondering.
Is that better or worse, though? Because then
I think it's better. Because I think sisters are complicated.
They are. I wrote my sister into.
There's one character, though. There's one character, the Jamal character, who is Aisha Auntie's son.
Yeah.
He's based on my shitty cousin Jamal, and I want Jamal to know that I based this character on him. And
I love that. So that Jamal is you. So I
want him to know that I killed a character based on him because I don't like him, and I hope he knows that.
I love that.
Is he still that awful?
Should have behaved.
Did he grow out of that? Is he kind of like?
Oh, I don't know. He's dead to me.
But he's not actually dead, though, is he?
You're like, no, I couldn't actually kill him.
I don't want to go to jail. I mean,
yeah.
But I have no problem putting people in, being like, and then I murdered them, and it was great.
Too bad. What happened to you?
It's fiction.
Don't be shitty to people. It's like,
yeah, seriously.
Oh, one of my author friends, like, she was joking, if you're not nice, I'll kill you in the next book. And then a bunch of us volunteered. I'd like to die a horrible death in your book. What you got? And then she's like, this was not how it was supposed to go.
I mean, I always like tell people or ask them, like my sister-in-law, her name is Star. So in Kismet, one of the main characters named Star. And I'm like, can I borrow your name? I was like, it's not you, but the name Star is just, it's in my head and I can't get, like, I need the name. She's totally into it. So it's like,
yeah,
she's totally into it.
I haven't told my kid's pediatrician that her name shows up in a lot of my books, but I just like the name and it's fine. It's not her full name. It's
yeah. Sometimes it's a name that it's just the musicality of it, like just hearing that name. And then, yeah.
And then people in your life were like, oh, so that's me? Like, it's like, no, it's not you. It's your name.
Like sometimes you'll pull mannerisms.
Sometimes it is.
You know, you'll pull how someone speaks or something else and use that. So it's like a thing. Writers, we kind of, we're a little parasitical. We kind of steal from you guys, and
we do. And if they like it, like I know one of the people I know in my real life showed up in one of my books, and she's like, I really liked this character, and she should have a bigger part in the next book. I'm like, you were a throwaway character.
Noted.
I'm sorry, but I'm glad you know it was you.
Yeah, like thank you. I'll keep that in mind. Sorry.
It really makes sense to bring it back, but I'm glad you enjoyed being in my book. Move on.
So was it crazy for you to see Mindy Kaling on her Instagram talking about your book and like?
I think the first thing I said was, "Oh my god!" No, first thing I said was, "Oh my god, she said my name right." Like. I was not expecting that. It's a very surreal thing because, as you guys know, you sit in your room and you write, and it's a very isolating experience. And this is like a book that there were tangents and it went into weird places, and I had to pull it back a little bit, So I was like, this is such a weird book. Why would Mindy want this? It's just so weird. And she wanted it, and I was like, so I'm like, this is a prank, whatever. I'm not convinced this isn't some weird prank you all are playing on me, but it's fine. It's awesome.
Like somebody spent a lot of money on a cameo for you.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I just want to go hang out with Mindy and in her closet. I just want to like see her shoes and her clothes. Is that weird?
Yes.
No, that's all I want. I totally
understand, like wanting to see the shoes that you were not.
Like, I am a former fashion girl. Yeah, like I started at Vogue in 1999 because I'm an old lady.
And a junior high program for you?
She was 10.
I do. I'm really obsessed with skincare, guys, and I'm happy to talk about my skincare obsession. But I literally was straight out of university at NYU. I was still wearing combat boots. Like Vogue was my finishing school.
Wait, how long was it?
My hair was still.
Okay, so you shaved it, and how old were you when you shaved it?
I shaved it. I wanted to have Dolores O'Riordan's haircut from the Cranberries. So, that was my reference. So at 17, I did that, and I made a white friend come home with me because I did it after school, the salon, because I was like, my mom is gonna yell, and she won't yell with a white person around.
Oh, that was
so you live with us now.
And my mom literally lost her mind. They pulling on him and like, it's a wig. And I'm like, nope. And it happened to be my dad's birthday. And I was disinvited from Red Lobster that night, let's just say. But then like, I didn't get to go. But then my mom realized how much she loved it, and she would start to shave my head for me. So it morphed into like spikes, and she would bleach it and dye it red for me. Like I think she had this thing where she was not allowed to cut her hair. Like it's culturally, she was not allowed, and she had to do her, go from her dad's house to my dad's house essentially. So now she has this child.
And you're like a doll.
Does whatever the heck she wants. Yeah, it was also more like I got to break sort of generational trauma by doing whatever the heck I wanted. And she might not have loved it, but at the same time, she became supportive of it. So I thought that was really fun. I love it. Like she would probably make me cut my hair off again because she thinks it's hilarious. But
she wants to just keep petting your head. You're like, ooh. And it is such like the really shaved head, or like right after my kids get haircuts, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna just keep petting you.
Oh yeah.
And my middle has like.
But so when I was at Vogue, I still kind of had that spiked do.
Yeah.
I think in 1999. But then I was trying to grow it out, and let me tell you, the grow out was painful. Learning to wear heels, painful. Trying to make a living at Vogue, where I earned $23,000 a year living in Manhattan, mind you.
And you lived it.
And yeah,
how many roommates
you have to. I had only one, and you have to wear the clothes. Right. And I was like,
we've seen The Devil Wears Prada.
I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing with Devil Wears Prada. I was the second in command's assistant when the author of Devil Wears Prada was Anna's assistant, so we overlapped. And my mom would always ask, "Are they really like that?" And I was like, "Mom, no, they're so much meaner in real life." Like in Fashion Victim, my first book, I literally have people throwing shoes at various heads. That happened to me. I had an editor who would literally like hurl Manolos across the room, and you would have to duck so it wouldn't like go in your eye.
That's awful.
So yeah, they were much nicer in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Meryl Streep can't play that evil.
No,
I mean, she could play anything. But yeah.
She could, but they probably told her to dial it back so it wouldn't be like this.
Well, I think it wouldn't be realistic, you know. But I think that my fashion friends who read Fashion Victim were like, "Where's the satire? This is just how it is.
This is true crime.
It's true crime."
Yeah. It was true crime with basically everything but the murders were real. And so people were like, "Oh, it's such great satire." And I was like, right.
That was my work life. Yeah, satire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Just smile. Don't challenge them on that. Then they'll have trauma
No.
too. You don't want to unpack that with
yeah.
them. It's not worth it.
So you were at Vogue during so when they were still in Times Square?
I am the one who helped move them from 350 Madison to 4 Times Square. I was the move coordinator for Vogue. And at one point,
with that job,
I'm walking around and lighting some of the editor's cigarettes for them because that's what we did in 1999. So yes. And now they're down by the World Trade Center, but yeah.
Yeah, I did. My husband and I performed at 4 Times Square at the former Vogue offices for like some gala a bunch of years ago. I feel old.
I was going to say, Amina, do you remember that? Were you there?
No, Vogue had already moved down to the World Trade Center.
Like my friend works in that building now, and it's just offices, and I'm like, can I come and have a trauma response in your office? Like, can I just like run around and cry and throw shoes? Because you
can do that now.
Bring the guy who cleaned your apartment from the bad energy,
right?
You and work through that shit and be able to be like, have him throw shoes and hit them with your body to see what it means.
Listen, I put it all in my books, man. That's where it all goes.
What we do with our trauma. There's no help.
That's where it belongs.
Yeah, it's fodder. It's fodder.
That's what I do.
Can you imagine how boring the books would be if you had a normal life? No.
I don't know.
I don't understand what normal life is.
That's why I'm like,
I don't know anyone who has it.
No.
But if I can make my readers laugh and also be kind of grossed out at the same time, then I'm score.
Yeah.
Score.
That's I know. It's like I always tell people, I'm like, I want you to be scared while reading my book, but also really sad. I want it to be both.
That is what you do.
I want you to be laughing while someone's being killed. And then you're like, why am I laughing at this? And then, yeah.
If you don't feel like a bad person for enjoying my book, then I did it wrong.
Especially the first one. Because the first one, you end up, I mean, she's a serial killer. You're in her head, from the get-go. And it's really like, do you root for her or do you root for the other people? But the other people are so much worse, that you're
you definitely root for the serial killer.
Especially if other people are worse. It's the whole like, can we weigh all these things? And this one, I least relate.
Listen, ambitious women can be dangerous.
And is this Fashion Victim? Because I actually have that book, but I didn't read it yet.
Okay. Yeah. It is. I call it, pardon my language, my batshit crazy book. I had just gotten laid off from Elle, and it was a little bit public in that I had tweeted layoffs, hashtag, whatever. And it went viral within the fashion world enough that people were writing about it. And I'm like, why are y'all writing about me? I just got laid off. Leave me alone. And my mom had died. So I was really at this moment of like not leaving my house. And I was having a hard time finding a job because I didn't realize I'd aged out. It used to be you get into the fashion industry, you can work and you can work and you can work, and then you move into like doing, you know, other consulting with it or whatever. And now it's like you hit 35, you're too expensive, get out. You know, they can hire a 21-year-old straight out of university. They don't need you because I've already set up all the systems.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Like when I started at style.com in like 2003, there was no such thing as people sending JPEGs for stories. I would literally have to drive around with security in an armed car and go to Cartier and Tiffany's and everywhere and get the jewelry and shoot it. Because
they let
people
you touch
didn't know to do JPEGs then. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
I've had breakfast at Tiffany's several times. Actual breakfast.
What do you eat at
It's
Tiffany?
been so much fun. Whatever they give me. Croissants, cronuts. They do lots of caviar stuff. My sister is the benefactor of all the Tiffany jewelry I would get, and I'd be like, oh, this is more you. Here you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See, now I just want to go through your closet.
I have some fun things. I have some fun jewelry. You know, I always had a way of getting through is that I would wear all black. This is my cheating way of getting through fashion, guys. You wear all black and you have a bold accessory of some sort. I don't care if it's a bag. I don't care if it's glasses. I don't care if it's jewelry. I don't care if it's all the above, great shoes, because no one's going to remember your outfit. They're going to remember that really cool ring. So that's basically my cheap, I don't have a trust fund way of getting through fashion.
Now the question is, so you're wearing glasses right now. Are they prescription or is that just your bold fashion?
Bold?
Okay, because
No,
It's both.
Yeah. No, and
Okay,
I wear mine.
I had the laser surgery in
Did you?
94, 95 in Mexico because I grew up on the border of Juarez and El Paso.
Okay.
And it was an American doctor, don't worry. What I didn't realize is that after about 15 years, it can either wear off or you develop an astigmatism. So now I have an astigmatism.
Oh, you got astigmatism.
But these glasses are from this, this is really, really important, you guys. It's from this site called Crewe, Krewe. They are crazy expensive, right? We're talking $300-$400. Every so often they have a ridiculous sale where stuff's $100 or less. And they're not lensed up. You can just get the frames and you can lens them yourself. So you have to get on their mailing list and then you'll get the email that the sale's going to start. And these frames are $100.
Yeah, that's nice to be able to do that because I put mine off till I'm like, I can't actually see through these anymore. So I guess I need new ones.
And you know who does really good ones, which I was surprised by, is of all the online ones, Zenni has some of the better quality. Because I'm like, oh, I'll try it. Zenni's like, it's like, you know, it doesn't have that weird white line that some glasses have. I hate that line.
And after I only wear makeup when we're doing our show, and then afterwards I literally get the foundation in my glasses.
Mine's covered. Mine's covered.
Yeah, like
I always get mascara all over mine.
I did
inside.
Yeah, no, and then I'm like, am I having a stroke? What's happening here? And then I'm like, oh, I got mascara all over.
Well, this is also why Jennifer won't wear hers during, but hers is also the ring light reflects back, and
then I look like an alien.
Islands. Yeah,
you have to have the ring light with glasses slightly not dead center. You have to have it kind of to the side. I've learned just so that you don't get the circles in your eye. I mean, you can still see the circle right there. There it is.
But I don't see it the way like I do when I right there. We go. There you have to like look at it. Like
Yeah.
And then you're like raccoon getting hit by headlights. Or the javelina. I don't know. Maybe the javelinas do it too. And they're like, we heard you had snacks.
So are the javelinas
they literally come
be
running to me. They were in Kismet.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember if it got killed or not. But that was before the javelinas and I became friends. Now I really like them.
Now you're like, I would never kill them all.
Well, I it's sort of like when you put birdseed out and you have squirrels and you're trying to fight the squirrels. They're my squirrels, okay? Mm-hmm. I would put them on the birdseed on these trays because I didn't want to have a contraption that any animal might get stuck in because we have, all kinds of critters. So I was like, I don't want to deal with that. So I just put these birdseed on the trays and, we have so many birds here. And the javelinas would come and smash the trays. It was like, oh my God. So I gave up fighting them. I'm like, listen, you want the bird seed? Go for it. Go for it. So but now they see me and they run up to me and they're just like, hey,
you're like a Disney
lady, hi.
princess.
And I'm just like, hi, are you going to kill me? Okay, let's go. I'll give you more.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier you have some sensitivities to smells. What do the javelinas smell like to you? Do they have a smell that you're bothered?
Like skunk.
So the peccaries, same animal. When I was down in Brazil,
stinky.
They smell to me like Spanish olives. That's what they smelled like. So I'm like, does anybody else know that? Or am I hallucinating? It's like really strong. You're like, what is wrong with you? They're strong.
They are pungent. They are very pungent animals.
Like they're not releasing a scent. They just stink.
No, that's just their smell. That's just their smell. That's how they are. You know, like we definitely, I don't think we even have skunks around here. We have foxes. Sometimes you can catch at night, and we have javelinas. So that whenever I smell that, I'm like, I don't know who that is. But, yeah,
it's a demon.
I mean, could be. Listen, that could be useful.
That's the next book.
Come on in for coffee. Let's talk.
Oh, Amina, you've been amazing.
Thank you.
You've been amazing. So much fun. Can you tell us anything about the book you're working on now before we go?
Sure. I tentatively have called it Bad Desi, but I'm not sure if that's gonna stick. We'll see.
I like that.
I like it.
It takes on the whole wedding culture that we have that is really insane. And you know, I've been told I need to get married since I was a toddler, you know, and clearly it did not stick with me. You know, I was like, so it's a woman who goes home for a family wedding, and like she realizes someone's killing the grooms and the eligible men. And she realizes that it might be linked to similar murders that happened in the 90s. That was including her cousin, who were also killed, but because those were women, the local police chalked it up to honor killings and didn't actually pursue it. So the main character is trying to... Because in the 90s, honor killing was like, you know, the key phrase that Time and Newsweek and everybody would say. And you're like, oh my God, nobody does that. Yeah, so there's a lot of poking fun of that, but it's also poking fun at cultural, like, you must get married, but then also like looking at marriage in different ways, you know, like different types of marriages within our culture, you know, like LGBTQ marriage or biracial marriages, or, you know, arranged marriages, and like, you know, she's kind of working through her own issues through it while trying to solve these murders.
Very cool.
I love it.
I love anything that's like toxic wedding culture, though. I love it.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I'm sure you probably already
I'm
have
not a wedding person,
but I have a bunch of Desi rom-coms that I've read that probably touch on some of this stuff. I'm like, I'll throw these your way. I'm like, you know,
I kind of initially was like, let me kind of flip these rom-coms, right? But then it was like, let's just go in. Yeah, there's murder. Yeah. And, you know, but it's also like poking fun at how, what an outsider she felt like, because one of the things I've talked about a lot to people with this book is people don't realize that, you know, my age and maybe give or take 10 years at most, right? We were the first Desi kids born here.
Yeah.
And we were the first ones people ever encountered. And it was such a bizarre, isolating experience. So we're going to have chapters in the 90s where she's trying to navigate that, you know, and where people are just like off their rockers, rude and racist because that's how people were. And, you know, being like, do you speak English? And she's like, bro, I was born here. What are you talking about? You know,
I've been in your
I really want to get into that. You know, yeah. Like every teacher being like, maybe you need to go to ESL. And I was like, no. I'm good. Thank you. Yeah. So I really want to like dive into that, and being that, you know, I guess it's like you're not first generation, you're second generation, but you know, you're the first set of kids. And like trying, you know, the whole immigrant experience of sorts without necessarily, I feel like you have to walk a fine line when you're kind of poking fun at different cultures, because you don't want to give racists ammunition to hate on your culture more. Yeah. It's got to be you've got to walk the line properly, where it's like you can poke fun enough that if your aunties are laughing at it, then you're good. You know, if your aunties are calling you up and being like, "Why did you write this?" then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a talk, and you're like, I'm sorry, static poltergeist. Yeah.
Just be like, I live in the mountains. The phone's coming out.
Exactly.
Oh, phone! I can't hear you. Javelina's gotta go.
Javelina's not the phone. Oh no. Sorry, I won't be able to handle calls today because the Javelinas ate my phone.
Yeah, it's like the new code word for like, we got to get out of here. Oh, we're having a Javelina problem.
Javelinas.
On that note,
On the Javelina note.
On the Javelina note, we're excited about the next book. We would love to have you back, and congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
You'll probably be getting a call from a producer any day now, I would think.
Ring. No, just kidding.
Ring, damn it.
Hey guys, it'll happen. It'll happen. I find that with TV and movie stuff, you got to find the right people at the right time. And with the strike, so much stuff had kind of piled up. So I'm just sort of being patient and chilling and, seeing what happens.
Awesome. Fingers crossed. Next week we are going live on Tuesday. Is that right, Allison?
Yes, we're going live on Tuesday. Yes. I'm gonna botch their name because the narrator has been saying it Hiron Ennis, and I've been saying it in my head Hiron Ennis. So we're gonna ask.
I've been saying it Hiron.
I don't know. I'm gonna ask
Hiron or Hiron Ennis.
Leech next Tuesday. So I've now re-listened to it twice, and I'm like, bring it on the Leech. And I apologize, Jennifer, for all the eyeball stuff. I forgot how prominent
that was a lot. That was triggering.
Oh, are we not in? We can't do eyeballs.
Jen cannot do eyeballs. I'm not wild about them, but this book is prominently eyeballs. So if you want some eyeball horror, read Leech.
Yeah, but I'm slowly getting better with the eyeball stuff.
How are you with crabs?
Still scared.
Crabs with the eyeballs?
No, it's separate. Two separate. But then the
list
also,
of
little pinchy in the eyes.
Pinchy in the eyes. No, don't enjoy
peelers.
That. Peelers. All right.
I'll stop traumatizing you. Bye.
Jennifer's freaking out. Yeah. Jennifer's gonna throw shoes now. Thank you.